Okay, so we are back with another unboxing, and this one, as you can see, is a little bit different from the others. It's also a lot bigger than some of the unboxings I've done recently. But it's one that I've been very fortunate to get my hands on. I know that a lot of you guys know that I'm not a crawler guy. This isn't specifically a crawler channel. I have given crawling a chance in the past, but it hasn't really gelled with me. It's just not my jam, and that's totally fine. I mean, I do appreciate that there's a lot of detail in these vehicles, and there's a lot of ingenuity that goes on to scale down these cars to be able to do what the real ones can do, and in some cases even better. But it's not something that I kind of gravitate towards. However, the opportunity came up to have a look at this ALLROCK, which is a new product that's hitting our shores here in Australia. And I have to give a big shout out to Hobbies Australia, who is the distributor for these products. And they got in contact with me and said, hey, there's a unique opportunity here for you to have something that you're going to be amongst the first in the world to actually get your hands on. And unfortunately, I've kind of had this sitting in my hands for about 2 weeks now. I probably should have dealt with this a little bit earlier, but I've had a bunch of other projects that I've sort of been focusing on, trying to get content out there, not just on this channel, but also on my second channel, and this one kind of got pushed aside a little bit. But we're here now, and as you can see, you get this big esky type cooler foam box that this comes with. I don't know what the external box is going to look like, because this is something that's just been specially given to me, and you're going to see that it's already been used, or however lightly. It's only being used a little bit, and so I don't know what box it actually comes with. I don't know what other accessories it comes with, if it has anything like tools or anything like that comes with it. I presume that this is all you're going to get, but don't take my word as gospel. So as you see, the car comes fully assembled. You get the radio, and of course there is a manual here which is quite thick, and there's also some stickers that you can decorate on the car. The manual itself is not too bad. It's pretty comprehensive. There's a lot of detail here. Also talks about the radio and all its functions, talks about the battery position and all the components of everything. There are 2 battery positions in this vehicle, and we'll talk about that a bit later. There's also an app that you can download both for iOS and Android, but you can sort of toy around with some of the settings on the ESC via the app, which is kind of cool. And I believe that works just via Bluetooth to the ESC. So it all comes equipped right out of the box. There is an option for a winch that I can see here, optional winch, and let's see, instructions on how to remove the body, which is something that we'll be covering during this video, and I'll show you how that works. And it's actually a really good thing that they've got going on here. And then of course a whole bunch of other details and settings, and how to rebuild your diffs, how to work on the car. I mean, everything is here. There's some notes you can put on the back and some more part numbers. Does it have any major exploded views or no? Just a parts list out here, and that's it. So it's got pictures of the parts and all the part numbers and stuff. So pretty good manual. Exploded views, I guess, a page by page, section by section. That's essentially how that is. But yeah, that's everything you get with this one out of the box. Moving on to the radio, we have this Futaba 4PM lookalike thing, which seems to be a bit of a growing trend with a lot of manufacturers at the moment. They seem to have pinched this design and just run with it, because it is a nice design. Although I have unboxed ones that are a lot smaller than this. This one's a bit of a larger size, and it does cater to some bigger hands like mine, and of course some smaller hands as well. I don't think smaller hands will have too many issues holding on to this guy. Trigger feels kind of nice here. Not too heavy and not too light. It's probably a little on the light side, but it's not too bad at all. The wheel is well sprung as well, and it has a bit of a foam surround, which makes it nice and comfortable to hold, and it's well positioned. I think it'll work quite well. It does run on 3 AA's, not 4, so it runs on 3 AA's. You have a switch here on the handle, which kind of lands right in your middle finger, and this is to control your lights. Now, what they've done here is, rather than just doing a quick press to switch between the light modes, you actually have to press and hold for about a second to be able to change between the light modes. So you've got like standard lights. You can turn on the bar light at the top. They go brighter, they blink, they flash, they carry on, do all sorts of things, and then of course you can turn them off if you want to. So that is all done through this button here on the handle. You've got a little lanyard loop just on the back here, which is a nice touch. So if you're going out on the trails and you're in some rough terrain, have a lanyard with the thing around your neck, so if you do sort of slip up or whatever, you're not going to just drop the remote on the ground. It offers a little bit of safety there. So on the back, there's a whole bunch of switches and a lot of stuff that we'll go through very quickly here. We've got our locking diff switches, so these are for your front and rear diffs to lock them. You've got a high and low speed gears here for your center transmission. You got the throttle trim, steering trim, throttle dual rate on this side, steering dual rate on that side, and then you've got your reverse switches for steering and throttle in case you need to flick between those. And then there's a channel 7 and a channel 8 here as well. Channel 7 is really more for your winch, if you do hook up a winch to this, because you can go up one way and out the other. And channel 8 is only a single button, so this will, I don't know, maybe turn on something else if you want to, maybe a sound module or some other LED lights that you might hook up. I mean, I don't know. So that's another channel that you've got there. And to turn the radio on and off, you got a sliding switch on the base of the handset here, so it's nicely tucked away and you won't accidentally sort of turn it on and off. Overall, the radio feels pretty good. It's not too heavy, obviously just running 3 AA's, and it's been pretty much customized to this truck. So I think it'll work quite well. As long as I don't have any delays or weird glitches with it, it should do fine. And finally, we have made it to the main event, the ALLROCK H8H 1/8 scale crawler, which isn't really just a crawler. This is kind of a hybrid between a crawler and a bash vehicle. And I think for those of us out there like myself who are not really big on crawlers, but wouldn't mind having something like this, that maybe you can meet up with some friends that do have crawlers and have a bit of a crawl with them and whatever, you know, go out on the trails, but then you can kick it into high gear and actually have a little bit of fun with it with some higher speeds. I think this truck might actually blur that line a little bit, right? It's not going to be for everybody, obviously, but it may swing the pendulum a little bit both ways, if you know what I mean. So it's an interesting concept, and I'm very keen to see what this truck can actually do and how much of it can do when I take it out. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way out into like BMX territory and take it on the jumps. I mean, maybe just for shits and giggles, but honestly, this is just for a little bit more open terrain, you know, just having a little bit of fun with some higher speeds. So the truck itself, as you can see, is actually quite big. It's a big beast, and the truck does look pretty good as it is. As you can see here, there is a lot of detail going on the back already. You've got some accessories. You've got a fully functional spare tire back here as well. LEDs are all pre-installed. You've got roof racks already pre-installed, of course. Big light bar at the front already on there. You've got LEDs on the front with indicators. So, and these are turn signals. So, you know, when you turn the wheel, they blink. The only thing they haven't hooked up are these two lights here at the front. So this is maybe something that you can hook up on that channel 8 on your remote. There is provisions here to obviously put some LEDs, and then you can maybe run that in the cavity of this front bumper here and run it through, and away you go. You can maybe have some extra LEDs on there if you really want to. These mirrors do swing out, and they do have some reflective, I think there might be stickers on there on those mirrors. You can just see them there. And as you can see, there's a lot of alloy in this as well. So you've got the alloy leather chassis, you've got aluminium shocks as well, already steel linkages. There's a 4-link suspension that I can see here, and you've got telescopic steel drive shafts going all the way through, metal steering rods at the front already, alloy servo horn already pre-installed, 35 kilogram steering servo is already on there, and you can see that the steering, there's this hydraulic kind of shock absorber thing going on here on the actual steering arm that looks to be sweating a little bit of oil. I don't think that's leaking per se. Oh no, maybe it is leaking. It's got a little bit of a leak on there, so maybe I need to tighten that up. You've also got universal drive shafts on here for your steering. I don't know what they're going to be like in the rear, but that is something that's included in there. And then, of course, to take the body off, and before I finish up, you have a look at the interior. There is a bit of an interior detail, steering wheel, all that sort of stuff on there. And you'll see that there's actually some metal rods on the back there. Those rods are there to support the entire back tray of the truck. And they actually lock into place, so they offer a bit of protection for the body in rollovers and things like that. Door handles are on there. But of course you can see that there's no body pins on this truck. So you're wondering, okay, so how does this come off? And I'll be honest with you, I just stopped short of looking at the manual, but I did eventually figure it out without having to crack the manual open, because I didn't know how the body came off on this. So I'm looking for like body pins under here. Maybe they've pinned it down somewhere underneath. I couldn't find anything. And as it turns out, there's just one little thing that you need to remove to get this off. And you don't really need to have it on there for some mild runs. So this little screw right here, which is just hand tightened, it's just a little bolt. You unscrew that, and this is what it looks like. Okay, that's it there. I know the camera's probably not focusing on it too well, but it's just that little thing. And then the body does come off. Now, when I first took that off, I couldn't quite get the body to come off because you can see it's still on there. As it turns out, they've put some really strong magnets on this as well. So you do need to put a little bit of pressure, and it does come off, and it is hinged at the back. And the magnets are, if I can show you, sorry, this is really cumbersome because it's such a big truck. But you can see those two magnets just on there. And then there are two more obviously on the body, and that can sort of lock into place. And you know, you can sort of run the truck as it is. If you're not planning to do anything too crazy, if you're just doing some slow running, you don't necessarily need to put that bolt on there if you don't want to, I suppose. But just don't lose it because yeah, it only has the one. So essentially the body comes off like so, just swings all the way back, and then we can see inside. I'll try and show you this as best as I can. So we might leave it like this for the time being, and we'll go through some of the pros and cons and all this sort of stuff. I mean, just some of the features really of what you get with this particular truck. So starting from the front here, we have our battery tray. So this is battery tray number 1. It does allow for some smaller batteries and some thinner batteries to fit in here. So you can put, you know, maybe slightly more weight at the front if you want to. This is your main battery tray. So this will house your 2 and 3S batteries quite easily. That won't be a problem. Runs XT60 connectors, waterproof receiver box right there. ESC is here, and this is a 80 amp, I believe. That's an 80 amp ESC. Now the ESC does have an app, and I downloaded the app, and I actually had a bit of a play around with it. I didn't really adjust anything on there, but I was just having a look to see what options you could have and what you could do. And it's amazing. Like, this thing's already hooked up to Bluetooth. You don't have to get any additional components like you can with some other brands. Everything is there. Just download the app. You know, it'll pick up the ESC, and you can start toying around with brake force and punch levels and whatever. You know, like, all the options are there. I wish that more and more manufacturers would do that from standard, because it makes so much more sense to just do it with a simple app like that, and it just works, rather than having to plug in a program card every time you want to adjust something, and then you have to buy the program card as well. I mean, that's, you know, it was cool for the time that it was, but this is definitely a leap forward in the hobby, I think. And I know that this isn't the first ESC to do this. I know that Bluetooth has been available for a little while now with Hobbywing and so on, but to have it, you know, ready to run, this I think is one of the first ones to do it. I'm not sure if it is the first one. Maybe there's another car out there that's done it, but to have it ready to go right out of the box without having to purchase any additional Bluetooth modules, nonsense, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, this is, I think, is a massive positive for a truck like this. That's a huge plus. Now, of course, the motor on here is quite a monster. It is a 3970 1500 kV, and it is a censored motor. So there is a sensor cable that's running here to the back of the motor. And I've already sort of had a little bit of play with this and plugged it in. And man, like, censored systems are just on a different level compared to you know, your non-censored stuff. Obviously, non-censored's great for bashing, but when it comes to this sort of like precise driving that you need to do, nothing beats it. It's absolutely amazing. So Your transmissions here, you got one little servo here which is going to switch your high and low gears. You have another servo there which is going to lock your front diff, and then you have another servo here which is going to lock your rear diff. There are multiple points on the shock towers to adjust your shocks, so if you want to play around with suspension geometry and things like that, you can do that as well. And then of course you've got some mud guards on here to kind of, you know, prevent a lot of debris and stuff from getting into the chassis and dirtying everything up. Now, it's not completely sealed. You can see that there's still quite a bit of a hole around the shocks and everything else. So it would have been nice maybe if that was closed off a little bit better, but it's you know, it is what it is, and it's still an included feature that in a lot of other RCs you still have to pay for. So nice to see that coming here from stock. As we move on to the back of the body here, you can see how everything's hooked up. There's a big box on the back of the body which kind of controls all the lights, and then all the wire management and everything. As you can see those two big magnets there on the front of the body. Sorry, this is really awkward because I can't remove the body and I'm holding everything at one time, and this is quite a heavy truck as well, so apologies if it's not 100%, but yeah, there we go. So this is quite a cool looking truck. Now there is something else that I wanted to point out, because when I first plugged the battery in, I'm not even joking, I did not know how to turn this on, because I put the battery in and nothing happened, and I didn't see an on and off switch anywhere near the ESC. There was no on and off switch on the ESC itself, and I'm thinking, what have they done to the on and off switch? So what I did is I followed the cable that comes out of the ESC. Obviously one goes to the receiver box, but the other one goes towards the front here and ends up underneath the front shock tower, sort of, kind of. Oh geez, I don't even know if I can show you, but here we go. So you might see, there it is. You might see that kind of like white dot that's right there. That's your on and off switch right there. So it's a little rubberized waterproof switch. You basically put your hand underneath the front bumper and you just feel it out, and you can hear it, right? I'm sure you can hear that. But essentially that's the on and off switch right there. And it's a really cool, well hidden design. I mean, you don't have to take the body off or anything to power the truck on and off. It is a little bit, I suppose the only thing I don't like about it is because it is underneath the truck. And if you're out in the wet, dirt, and so on, yeah, you're gonna have to put your hand right where all the dirt and grime and everything's gonna be to turn that switch on and off. It would have been nice if they'd maybe put it at the back here somewhere, underneath something. I don't know, but I'm just being really pedantic about that. It's just a minor thing, but at least it's there, it's easy to access, and you don't have to remove the body or anything to turn your truck on and off. But I think that's pretty much everything that I'm going to talk about here on this truck. It's a very interesting vehicle. I think the concept itself is really cool, and I can't wait to take it out and just see what this thing can do. So once again, a big shout out to Hobbies Australia for sending this one out here for review. I am going to have to send this one back once I'm done making some content on it, so I'm hoping that I don't wreck it any more than what they already have. I mean, it's got already a few scuffs here and there, but it is overall very much still in in almost new condition. So hopefully I can give it back to him in good nick as well, and still be able to put on a show and give you guys a glimpse of what this truck can do. So big thank you to them for helping me out on this one. Again, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Check the video description. I'll have links in there to my socials, as well as maybe where you can get one of these here in Australia. Once I have a link for it, I might put something on there, and then you guys can check out pricing and everything, because I have no idea, as at the time of filming, how much this is going to be. I don't know if this is $1,000 or $500 or $1,500. I have no idea what this thing's worth. So it'll be really interesting to see what sort of price point it comes in at, given how well equipped it is, and the size that it is too. So it'll be very interesting to see what price range this is going to be at, and how it's going to compete against the other brands out there on the market. But that's about enough of me waffling on. Thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to hit that like button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll speak to you all next time.